A young man, who was a prince, proposed to a girl, asking her to be his queen. She accepted with love and excitement. Little did they know, a woman was watching their love story unfold on her phone. As the video ended, she celebrated her victory in a game. However, she soon felt exhausted at work and regretted staying up all night playing. Since it was Friday, she hoped to get through the workday quickly and enjoy the weekend. Unfortunately, her junior colleague asked her to complete a report that was due earlier in the week. Feeling frustrated about having to work on her weekend, she finished work late at night and left the office. She wore headphones while walking on the road, which was a good excuse for our Van Kuan to come out of and struck her, causing her consciousness to fade away. When she regained consciousness, she found herself in a different place and her body felt heavy. She heard a voice and new memories flooded her mind. She turned to see the prince from the game screen, Prince Edward, who confronted her about her mistreatment of a girl named Yuri. Astonished, she realized that she had been reincarnated as the villainess, Iris Lana Armelia, from the game. In this game, Yuri was the protagonist, and Iris was the character who bullied her. The task for Yuri was to make the 4 male targets to fall in love with her. Among the 4 targets, one was the second Prince Edward, who was Villainous' fiancé, second was the son of the Knight Commander, Dorson. Third was Villainous' brother, Byrne, who was the son of the Duke, who was also the Prime Minister of the country, and finally the 4th person was the grandson of the Pope. She was confused, but decided to solve the situation at hand first. Determined to change the story's outcome, she resolved to act differently than in the game. As she tried to stand up, someone grabbed her neck and forced her down. In pain, she pleaded with Dorson, one of the male targets in the game, to release her. He refused. But she reminded him that he was the son of a knight commander who vowed to protect the weak. Another male target, her brother Byrne, mocked her as she spoke. Iris admitted her wrongdoing and asked them not to waste time confirming it. Prince Edward was taken aback by her confession and asked why she had behaved that way. She hinted at how Yuri had seduced Edward and caused him to break off their engagement. Thanking everyone present, she bid farewell, believing it was her last day at the academy. Due to the accusations against her and the male leads, she would never be allowed to return. She said farewell and prepared to leave, but Edward stopped her. He asked her to apologize to Yuri. Iris refused to do that as it would hurt her pride. Even if today's acts bring her to her own destruction, she refused to apologize. She shed tears and explained to her ex-fiancé Edward that there was nothing to take up from her other than her pride. She left after declaring that, and boarded a waiting carriage, saying goodbye to the academy. She felt her memories from her previous life in Japan and her life as Iris mixing together. Iris Lana Armelia, the daughter of the Duke, whose lineage was second only to the royal family. According to the story, after Iris's engagement had been annulled, she would face house arrest upon reaching her home and would be confined in the church for the rest of her life to live as nun. As the academy farce was over, and she knew she had to deal with her father to avoid a dire fate. At home, she rested in her room, waiting for her father's arrival. A maid named Tanya barged in, and Iris calmly informed her that she had returned. Surprised by her calmness, Tanya asked how Iris could be so composed. Iris advised Tanya to calm down. As Tanya managed to calm down, she apologized for her previous behavior. Tanya mentioned that the Duke would return later that evening. Iris asked Tanya to make tea while they waited. As Iris sipped her tea, she expressed gratitude to Tanya for her service. Tanya insisted that it was unnecessary as Iris was her master, not the Duke. Iris lamented Prince Edward's betrayal and accused him of being in the wrong. Tanya assured Iris that she would always stand by her side. While Iris appreciated Tanya's loyalty, she encouraged her to seek her own happiness. Iris was willing to relieve Tanya of her duties to free her from a stifling environment. However, Tanya firmly refused, sharing her own flashback of how Iris had saved her from the slums. Tanya was prepared to remain by Iris's side until death. This touched Iris, and she asked Tanya to consider her offer, but Tanya declined, mentioning other children whom Iris had saved felt the same way. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door. A maid entered with news that the Duke had returned and requested Iris's presence in his office. Iris was surprised, as her father usually returned late at night. The maid assured her that the Duke had come back early specifically for Iris's matters. She spoke in support of Iris and advised her to face the Duke confidently. As Iris reached the office, she asked the maids to wait outside and entered the room to meet her father. Iris apologized for taking up her father's time, and the Duke expressed his relief that she understood the commotion she had caused. Iris insisted that she hadn't troubled her father or the Prime Minister, who was also the Duke. Confused, the Duke asked how she could say that. Iris explained that she had only engaged in verbal harassment, which had no strong evidence against her. She also mentioned that Prince Edward had annulled their engagement without consulting her, making her the victim. She had made her case clear at the academy, leaving no room for her enemies to escalate the situation. Despite Prince Edward's fuss, Iris believed she would only receive a light reprimand that her father's authority could easily resolve. The Duke had already heard about everything that had happened at the academy. Iris reminded him that he had initially opposed her engagement to Edward because it would create a power split, with her family backing the second prince. This could lead to a divided kingdom. Then the Duke asked her why she thinks that he allowed the engagement when there were no benefits. Iris replied that her father was expecting that outcome. The Kingdom of Tasmeria has many political factions. The first prince was born to the official queen, where the second prince was born to the only concubine. In the game, the second prince becomes the king in the end, but in reality things weren't that simple. The queen was from the Earl family, which was powerless compared to the concubine's family marquis. However, the king pushed through the protests and made the Earl's daughter his official wife. Since then the noble society has existed in a delicate balance. When the Duke asked her to explain it further, she explained that if she had married the first prince, then the Duke would have made Byrne to work for the first prince too, to solidify his ascension. However, if she married the second prince, the Duke would still make Byrne work for the first prince and have Iris to keep the second prince in check. But letting her marry the first prince was the best choice with less risk, but now that Byrne had joined the second prince group, she was sure that her father wanted the engagement to be annulled. The Duke laughed at her answer and admitted that it had been his intention. He had repeatedly told Byrne to distance himself from the second prince, but was frustrated that his son had become part of the prince's entourage. He asked Iris if she was okay with the outcome, considering her previous feelings for the second prince. Iris compared her former love to an illness that had faded with time. The Duke had to punish her for her actions at the academy. This issue could be resolved easily with his authority, but with his son involved there's a chance that the house would be split into two. She was nervous as she didn't know what kind of punishment her father would give her. He decided to confine her in their territory, which was away from the capital, and granted her the position of acting fief lord, the second highest authority after the Duke. Iris was surprised by this appointment since it was typically given to the eldest son. The Duke explained that Byrne wouldn't go to the territory as he was also suffering from the same sickness Iris had experienced. Iris accepted the position and vowed to ensure the survival of their domain, regardless of any challenges that might arise within the imperial family. Iris left, and Duke reminisced about the past decade. Iris entered his room with his permission and they discussed her birthday gift. She expressed her desire to help those in need, as her parents had taught her, and mentioned a girl she had found collapsed on her way. The girl turned out to be Tanya, the maid. The Duchess Mirellis then entered the room and asked the Duke not to send Iris to the nunnery. The Duke revealed his decision to make Iris the fief lord, shocking the Duchess. He explained that Iris had convinced him and that she had changed from her past mistakes. The Duchess was worried about Iris's lack of control and how she would manage the territory. She mentioned that the Baron's daughter was publicly cruel to her as she blamed it all on her daughter. Iris was used as a scapegoat for all the noble children who bullied Yuri. A Baron's daughter, and they were actually discreet about it, and Iris ended up taking the whole blame. Marellis wondered how much of the mistake Oris did out of all the accusations. The Duke defended Iris, saying she had learned from her past and understood her responsibilities. However, the Duchess believed that Iris didn't realize the Duke's true intentions. After Iris got engaged to the second prince, the Duke became deeply involved and couldn't stay neutral. He accepted that he was just a doting father and wanted to protect Iris from being dragged into the struggle for the throne. But he realized he couldn't do it alone anymore. Subscribe for part 2, which would be uploaded in the next 12 hours, and to see Iris' future endeavors.